So, welcome folks to our webinar Wednesdays, and this is going to be your Kahoot 101 webinar. So, the first panel we have here is just a brief welcome slide. This is our Kahoot 101 webinar series held on the 4th of every Wednesday monthly. The goal of Kahoot 101 is to educate you with some foundational skills on how to leverage your existing Kahoot license to really kind of get the best bang for your buck for the type of license that you're paying for. And or if you're brand new to the platform, giving you a showcase of everything that we have to offer. So, with that being said, we are going to get started right away with a puzzle type question. Unscramble the phrase below and put it in order. So now on your devices, you're going to be able to unscramble the word and then hit submit to finalize your response. This puzzle type question is one of our test knowledge question types and can be used for something like this, a word scramble. Also, notably, it can be used to test process knowledge, review, concepts depending on your needs within your organization. And it's definitely a fun tactile activity that can really kind of inject some interactivity into your sessions. But I'll let everybody submit their answers. There's 18 seconds on the clock, so please feel free to respond. Lynn, if you are in our game on your mobile device that you're interacting with or your desktop widget, you can drag and drop the blocks in order to unscramble it and then hit submit if you want to respond. That is how you would interact with that. Oh, if you're just watching on Zoom, you can't interact, but you can join our session. I'll have our wonderful moderator, Zainab, give you some instructions there. Okay, so the correct answer here to unscramble this properly was Kahoot 101. If you sorted it in this order, you were correct. If you did not, it was incorrect. But with that, we come to our first iteration of the scoreboard. This is something that I wanted to introduce a bit early because it is kind of the heartbeat, the backbone of what makes Kahoot so enticing, exciting, interactive. This is the competitive element of a Kahoot session that allows you to award points to your participants, whether that's in the context of, testing their knowledge, whether that's just in the context of wanting to build engagement or create like a team building experience. This is going to be the way that you do it. So the scoreboard will always show you the top 5 contenders in your session. And it changes in real time. So as more points are accrued, people move up, people move down. There's a lot of maybe competitiveness happening amongst the participants. And then it also makes notable call outs like folks on answer streaks. So it's a great place to generate recognition in real time. People go crazy for the scoreboard. And at the end of today's session, we will crown a winner. So keep that in mind. All righty, moving right along into our formal introduction. My name is Galilea, and previously I was a customer success manager. Now I moved into a new role as a senior account manager, but I am joined by my wonderful colleague also who moved into a new role a little while back as senior customer success manager, and we are your webinar hosts. But Zainab, would you like to introduce yourself and give the people some words?
Yeah, thank you, Gali. Hi, everyone. My name is Zainab. I am your senior customer success manager here at Kahoot, and I'll be your moderator today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in chat. We will have a conversation going on consistently, and also feel free to answer the questions that other participants are sharing. So share your knowledge and insight and experiences, and we love to hear feedback and ideas. So feel free to throw everything into the chat box.
Thank you, Z. And yes, please feel free to leverage this time. It's going to be, an hour block, all designated at helping you enrich your knowledge base about Kahoot. So yes, make use of all the capabilities that we have provided for you, and don't be shy. Ask questions. So moving right along, we are going to jump right into a poll type question. So do you currently have a Kahoot subscription? This is both in the actual essence to learn more about my participants today. I like to call them sometimes the demographic of the audience. As you can see, polling in real time can be really helpful, be a really helpful way to mine information from a participant group, whether that's to learn more about them as individuals, whether that's to give them a voice in real time, to survey them, to identify common trends, the list goes on and on. But yeah, poll type question is one of the question types that we offer to generate this type of experience. So select one that you identify with, and then we'll review the results shortly. I'm going to turn up this a little bit just so we have a little bit of an ambiance music. I will also say Kahoot is widely known for their unique type of sound and music. Alrighty. So it seems like the majority of you today do have a Kahoot subscription, but a good portion, about 37% of you don't. So hopefully you can learn more about the platform today and see if it's something that's of interest to you. There is also a Lone Ranger who is not sure. No worries there. If you do have questions, you can always post them in the chat and we can try to get you an answer to see if you do or you don't. But all that is to say, a Kahoot subscription, what it entails, it's a paid subscription that allows you additional access to enterprise features, like some of the question types that you'll see today, some of the functionalities you'll see today. For those of you that don't have access to a Kahoot subscription, essentially, you do have some functionality on the platform, but like I said, hopefully after today, you learn a little bit more about what the platform can do. It may be something that you want to look into. So moving right along into just a fun fact. So 97% of Fortune 500 companies are using Kahoot, and the use cases here vary widely. Zainab and I both, as customer success folks, have been in the trenches with managed clients, seeing how they're using Kahoot in real time. It can span anywhere from training purposes to recruitment purposes to engagement purposes, and the list can definitely go on and on, but it really just depends on what need you're trying to fulfill internally, and we try to bring the fun to the table to help you achieve that vision. So just something to keep in mind. There's definitely something to it. So with that being said, another poll type question, just asking a little bit more about how well do you know Kahoot? Let's get a little bit of a deeper insight. I found out that the majority of you are Kahoot subscription holders. Now let's gauge the knowledge base, strength there, so that we can also identify what might be some pertinent information to relay today. So as you can see in real time, I'm adjusting, the webinar. I have a general plan, but depending on the demographics that my audience is providing me in this kind of polling mechanism, I can then adjust accordingly. So 26% of you say you only know the name. 32% of you say you've played Kahoot before. 21% of you have said you've hosted and you know it pretty well. And then finally, 21% also says that you've played, you've hosted, and that you love it, and you're just here to learn more. Amazing, great breakdown, great mix, I'd say, really can make for an exciting and compelling type of webinar today. So first things first, we're going to cover some key basics before we go into a live demo section where I'll actually walk you through in real time what it means to explore your Kahoot profile, create a Kahoot, and kind of talk about some of these more kind of advanced features and capabilities that you can use with your Kahoot license. So on the picture on screen here, you're seeing a Kahoot interface that is highlighting specifically the ability to start and assign a Kahoot. So at Kahoot, we have a couple of modes of play. The more widely recognized one, the more ubiquitous one is definitely live games. If you've heard of Kahoot in any capacity, you've most likely happened upon it within the confines of a live game. However, we do have the ability to service asynchronous needs as well. So whether that's needing to create, an asynchronous training, a remote training, it's all designed to achieving a self-paced experience for your participants. You can send out a self-paced survey, a self-paced quiz, retention check, knowledge check, professional development workshop, all asynchronous. And the neat thing here is that we prioritize convenience within the asynchronous capabilities, because we understand that sometimes, teams are global, maybe even if they're in the same city, people are working from home. It takes a lot of time and effort to coordinate everybody to meet together and have a live experience. So that's where the asynchronous functionalities of Kahoot come in. Additionally to that, we also have other modes of play, namely team mode and courses. So I'll kind of cover those. Initially, team mode is a variant of live games specifically. So whereas an individual game like today, a classic game, as we like to call it, you're an individual participating for yourself, accruing points for yourself. In team mode, as the name suggests, you are put into team buckets that you can choose. You can assign those ahead of time as well. And you're competing and collaborating as a group to compete against other teams and beat them out points wise. So it just adds in another layer and kind of a dynamic of collaboration on top of the competition. It'd be nice to kind of build, bring teams together, bring, that experience of collaboration. And then finally, courses is kind of like the next evolution that follows a Kahoot. So Kahoots, I like to say, are like standalone experiences, right? You launch a live game, you play a live game, and at the end you receive a podium and you're done. You could generate follow-ups based off of that. Same thing goes for asynchronous Kahoots, but courses kind of take that notion and flip it on its head. You're able to create and curate modular learning where you can string together multimedia assets, like for example, a video and a PDF resource, and followed up by a Kahoot quiz, all bundled under one umbrella, as opposed to launching 3 separate activities or segments. So this is kind of our response at helping you really adapt to the hybrid work environment that we've all found ourselves in post-pandemic. But it's a really neat tool that can even allow you to kind of tack onto it like resources that your participants can download after the fact. So courses can be very popular for onboarding use cases. If you're using Kahoot or are planning to use Kahoot to onboard new hires, you can create engagement using the interactive elements of Kahoot, but you can also provide tangible resources for your participants, your new hire onboarding class to kind of take away. You can provide them the employee manual to actually have as like pre-work before the actual orientation. You can also tack on surveys to kind of, gauge them on the knowledge about their, 2-week-long onboarding, and then also gauge, what they're anxious about going into their nesting period, et cetera, et cetera. You can also create professional development courses to provide upskilling for soft skills or for hard skills. Really the examples can go on Kahoot courses. And of course, we have all of these creative tools and integrations built into the platform that allow you to make that process as easy as possible. We have partnerships with Getty, with YouTube, with Giphy that allow you to just take really any piece of media existing on the internet and inject it directly into Kahoot to make things relevant, to make things exciting, visually enticing, and so on. So can't say enough about courses and all of what Kahoot can do for you. But moving right along, the next piece to cover, which is a big staple, is our Kahoot question types. I always like to say during my onboardings that if we're looking at Kahoot as a metaphor, right, and it's a car, the question types are kind of the engine that power that car, that metaphorical car. So at Kahoot, currently, we offer 10 different question types pictured here on the right. These 10 different question types are split up into 2 major categories, as you can see from the image. I'll expand the image a little bit here so we can get into it. So the top 5, quiz, true and false, type answer, slider, and puzzle, all fall under your test knowledge bracket. So these are the questions that by default have points assigned to them. They're all aimed at gathering you quantitative data. How well is the topic being retained? Was my audience listening? This is also what drives the competition element of Kahoot. And quiz and true and false formats are very ubiquitous. very kind of straightforward, but then we do try to provide other experiences like type answer, which is a free form response question type where it's great for like applying critical thinking or open-ended type of questions too. Slider is more numerical based, so you're able to use that slider mechanism to ask, very technical questions. And then finally, puzzle provides a little bit of a tactile activity for process review, for engagement, and just overall general variety, essentially. So then the next 5 below it, poll, drop pin, word cloud, and open-ended, and brainstorm, are all part of our collect opinions group. As the name suggests, all of these question types are designed specifically to gather feedback from your audience, whether that's in real time if you're doing a live game, or asynchronously and remotely if you're doing an assignment. This is a great way to provide, icebreaker type of questions, engagement questions, check-in questions, survey questions, really just giving your audience a voice in real time and allowing them to participate in their training, their meetings, their, kind of anything within that spectrum in a way that they haven't been able to in traditional type of scenarios. I also find that these 5 questions, since they are designed to gather you qualitative insights, can be great when you're looking to build interactive presentations, which is something that the Kahoot business user is very akin to, and they end up using a lot inevitably, because you're able to splice together the interactive elements of these question types in conjunction with traditional kind of slide approach to presenting, right? So meetings like all hands, town halls can now become a lot more interactive than just a speaker to participant model. Now you can involve your audience and really kind of ensure that they are following along, and check in with your test knowledge questions, but also ask them, how they're feeling about a particular rollout of a new product, process, how they're feeling about, their overall stake in the company. There's a lot of things that can be done by mixing in all of these different components. But yeah, question types are kind of the motor that powers that. And then finally, brainstorm, just a notable shout out for that one specifically. That one I would consider like our one hybrid type of question, because it is labeled under the collect opinion questions because its mechanism is really meant at generating crowdsource ideas, but you can attach a voting round to it, which allows, the peers that are participating in the brainstorm activity to actually vote on ideas that they like from their peers. So it's kind of like a self recognition model where peers are recognizing peers, and it's a really fun experience. We have one designed for you today, so hopefully you'll get to enjoy that and see it to its full potential. But moving from there, I mentioned briefly interactive presentations. This is the other kind of staple component to know about on Kahoot as a professional business user. We do have the ability for you to create slides on the platform. We understand that slides are an inevitable part of all of our lives as business users. So we provide you 10 different slide layouts that you can choose from and format directly on the platform for maximum customizability. But we also allow you the ability to import your own slide deck. So we know that there's blood, sweat, and tears poured into so many slide decks out there in the ether. So Kahoot wants to, make that process seamless for you and allow you to import that in directly into the platform, and then just gamify it to take it a bit step further, right? A lot of our presentations and slide decks have a lot of context, a lot of information that's rich. Now imagine how that can be taken to the next level by interlacing, engagement checks in real time, or interlacing, survey questions in real time about what your audience is hearing, learning, consuming, and so on and so forth. And it can be anything like a slide deck. I believe there's 4 supported file formats: PPTX, PPT, .pdf, and .key. So with that being said, I've laid enough of the stage. We're right on time to shift over to our live demo, where I will give you a tour of the land and show you what it looks like to actually create a Kahoot and maneuver with that. So first things first is this is what a Kahoot account looks like when you pop into it. They might vary in degrees because I am in this account that has multiple other people in it. I also, key thing to draw your attention to here, have a lot of workspaces on the left. Workspaces is a fairly new recent development. It essentially helps you split up your personal profile, which is the top one here with my picture, in between all the other workspaces that you're a part of. So usually at most you might have two, your personal one and your paid subscription one. I have three because I happen to be part of three different, groups here internally. But from here, all you have to do when you pop into your Kahoot account is ensure that you're in the correct workspace. As of now, I'm going to switch over to my Galley's workspace so I can show you a bit more freely what that looks like. So in Galley's workspace, I have access to my paid subscription. Also, here I have access to things like the Discover tab, which allow me to peruse existing content that's ready-made and that I can play. I like to say always, like, you can pick a Kahoot off the rack and just play it directly as is. We have partnerships with a lot of different brands that create content specifically for Kahoot. Some of them for more academic purposes, like Marble has great, academic trivia type of Kahoots, but then National Geographic can get a little bit better for a business user. Intuit has, courses on soft skills and things of the like, also like financial education. And these are all Kahoots that you can play off of the Discover tab. There are some paid subscription, like behind a paywall type of Kahoots, but you'll be able to note that they say Kahoot Access Pass. If you have Access Pass, you can play those. If not, you can also look into purchasing the add-on for Kahoot Access Pass, but we curate this page monthly with playable Kahoots. As long as the Kahoot doesn't say purchase or Access Pass, it's free for you to play. So here, this Disney Imagine one is Celebrate Spring. It's 10 questions long, and you can pick it off the rack and play it if you're looking into kind of generating like a team building type of experience or an engagement type of experience. And then this Discover page also has a search bar that you can also, type in whatever query you're looking for. Let's say, for example, you're looking to gauge what a Kahoot for IT compliance might look like. You can type in that keyword there, and then you'll have a lot of user generated content that has been shared by those users specifically. And you can even lift inspiration from them. So quite a fun access point. But more specifically, when you have a Kahoot subscription, you can use our create function here to either create Kahoot, or if you have, one of our Kahoot 360 Pro licenses, specifically Pro and up, you can also create courses. So for today, I'm going to go ahead and select Kahoot and then show you what that's all about. So when you click the create button, it brings you to this interface and dialog box where it shows you our budding and building template library. As of right now, we have 14 templates, all geared towards the everyday business user. As you can see, the templates here are very use case specific. So we have ones for product knowledge training. We have ones for an all hands presentation, ones for a project retrospective, new hire training, and the list goes on and on. Depending on where you're falling, you might, actually fare really well by looking into some of these. So I'll click open into our all hands presentation template just to show you how robust they are. They give you a fully realized workflow. And all you have to do is go in here and maybe swap out some of the questions that are in here. Like, for example, this gives you the prompt, get people to participate and share by asking them, what are you looking forward to this upcoming quarter? You can just delete this portion here, leave the question, and that's a fully formatted question. If you don't like any component of this, you can change it to your heart's content. It's fully customizable. And this is why I always advise for my first time users, if you are feeling a bit daunted, like it's, a massive undertaking, I can guarantee you it's very user friendly, but we do provide templates for you to kind of get faster to the point of creation and feel a little bit more comfortable, feel a little bit more supported in that first instance that you're going to create a Kahoot. But I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this, go back to the create functionality and show you what it looks like when you create from scratch. So to create from scratch, you click create here. This then brings you to the blank canvas of the Kahoot creator. This Kahoot creator is what's going to help you formulate all of the Kahoot experiences that we were just talking about and showcasing a second ago. So it always brings you to a quiz type question. You by no means have to start there. It just by default brings you there. But if you want to start off somewhere else, you can click this drop down and say, I don't want to start off with a quiz question. Let's actually start off with a word cloud because I want to create an icebreaker experience. So let's ask folks, what did you have for breakfast today? Let's say that's my icebreaker. All I have to do is type in the question. Next thing to do from here is to insert media. So you can always import your own images by dropping them there directly. Or when you click this plus sign, there is an upload image option down here. But most of the time, I personally don't do that. I know that a lot of people don't really have, just a bunch of media sitting on their desktop waiting to be used. So that's where we provide you our creative integrations. On the left panel here, you'll see that we have a still images integration. We have the animated GIF integration, and then also videos. On still images, we have partnership with Getty and Unsplash, which are royalty-free image libraries. We could type in the keyword breakfast, and with that keyword, over 2 million royalty-free images pop up. Very high quality. I'll show you, for example, let's say that I want to run with this one here. When I preview it, this is what my audience would see, and it looks quite nice, I will say. Still images are a great way to kind of increase the visual value of your Kahoots. But personally, I'm a Giphy girl. I love to use animation to inject more life into my Kahoots. So I'll show you what that looks like next. Here, you click the plus sign. We'd go to the Giphy extension, and it is powered by Giphy. Our partnership is with Giphy themselves. We can type in breakfast once again, and now we'll get an array of different GIFs relating to that breakfast keyword that we said. So maybe we want to get a little bit silly, inject some fun into our session. I love Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Salem, as a matter of fact. So we'll go ahead and use that one. And now when my audience is prompted with this question, this is the image that they will see. I usually find that GIFs really are a way to impact the memorability of your sessions. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that just the juxtaposition between injecting a funny, irrelevant GIF into a dry question, like something pertaining to process or compliance, really just causes the information to stick a lot more because it's associated to that kind of fun, impactful moment. So just some science behind how it works in terms of the brain and the recognition piece. But here we formatted our word cloud question. Now we're ready to go. If we wanted to extend the time limit, we can just click that drop down and select it from here. Customarily, 30 seconds is more than enough, but of course, you know your audience the best. So if you feel they need more time, feel free to add more time. The next step that I'll show you is how to format a slide from scratch. So to format a slide from scratch, you can click the Add Slide button here. This is where your 10 different slide layouts pop up, and then you can choose between ones that are media-based and ones that are text-based. For today, I'm going to go ahead and select Big Media to show you how I'd format a welcome slide. So first things first is I'd say, welcome to our quarterly all hands. Let's just say our hypothetical here is that we're building an all hands deck. After I type in my welcome message, I can then insert media again. I'm going to go ahead and go the still image route and say, welcome. Let's see what pops up. Over 700,000 images with the keyword welcome. Let's say for me, I am a fan of this latte art. I think it looks pretty. I think it looks nice. And then additionally, if we wanted to format this further, we do have the ability, let's say we don't like how that's looking, maybe we want to add some bullet points and agenda, we can swap the layout here and everything transfers over. But personally, I'm going to keep it on the big media. So since this is my welcome slide, I'm just going to go ahead and grab it and slide it up above the icebreaker because I want to open up with the welcome slide instead of the icebreaker. And now when we click preview, it'll show me the it'll show me the welcome slide, and then we dive right into the icebreaker. And now my interactive presentation is starting to take hold. I can also layer in a theme. We do have professional themes that you can choose from. It just changes the background and the branding of it a bit to make it a bit less generic. We do have festive ones. We use these all the time during February. You could not get me away from sweet treats. I just love the small nuance of changing the branding aspect of a Kahoot. Depending on the Kahoot license that you have as well, you can customize your own themes. Here, it can go as far as adding in your personalized logo, your personalized background image, and a contrast color down to the hex code. So this is great for all of those with marketing teams that might want to brand their Kahoots uniformly throughout the organization. But now we've formatted a slide from scratch. We've created a question from scratch. Last thing I'll show you is how to import your own slides. So we're going to go ahead and click the add slide button again, and then we're going to go ahead and click import slides from right here. When you click import slides, you can upload your file directly to the Kahoot platform. I do have a sample PDF that I often use for this purpose. And then depending on the file size, it might take a couple of seconds. You can always choose to keep editing while importing, which is what I'll go ahead and do. Last thing also, if you do have a lot of quiz and multiple choice questions, we do have this handy dandy option to import spreadsheets as well. This only does pertain though to quiz questions. Keep that in mind. You click the import spreadsheet option, you download our template that we provide you, you format it. Let's say, for example, you have 20 quiz type questions that you want to kind of insert into your presentation, but you don't want to go through the lengthy process of configuring each single one on the platform. We kind of condense that time of creation for you here. Once you're done formatting it on the spreadsheet, you upload it, and then Kahoot does the rest. But yeah, that's also something notable that I think might be important and relevant for a lot of our business users getting started. So while I was showing that particular aspect, you can see here that my slides imported. It does say slide and imported to let me know which ones they are. From here, I can choose to go and comb through the slides themselves, see if they all look good, if there are any typos or anything like that. If I do find, let's say, a slide that is superfluous and I don't need it, we can go ahead and delete that. And just remove it altogether. If we do find like an error on a slide, it isn't formatable inside of, or you can't format it inside of Kahoot, but you would need to like delete it, format the original, bring it back. Also, speaker notes at the moment don't transfer over either, just for those of you that will be interested in using this functionality after our session. Keep in mind, those are some common questions that come up, so I wanted to broach them here so that way you had that insight. But once we've kind of tailored everything to how we want it to be, at this point, we've created a slide from scratch, a question from scratch, and imported some slides. We're essentially good to go. This Kahoot can be considered finalized. If you wanted to add in additional questions, you can click the add question button and choose to add whichever one of the 10 different question types that you have access to here. Let's say, for example, quiz is one that you wanted to add in. You just click the quiz button on this side panel here. All the options for the quiz question align around you. So there's nothing that you have to do additionally here. We decided, I'm not really feeling a quiz. Let's go to the slider instead. Everything else changes around you. You don't have to do anything manually here. So quite handy, I'd say. If, let's say, for example, the question we wanted to kind of format to end off with is something like a slider or a quiz question, I'm going to leave it on slider. You would follow the same process as we did with the word cloud. You would type in your question, what was the revenue generated during Q4 2022. Let's say this is an all hands meeting. We want to test the knowledge of the audience on this particular, enterprise knowledge point. We can add in our question. We can then add, a relevant image. Let's say revenue. We want to add it in there. Let's say this makes sense in regards to what we're asking. Finally, we insert our answer choice here. Let's say we're going to make it range anywhere from, let's say the correct answer here was 100,000, right? And we'll put 1,000 as a unit. We then it gives us an automatic range from 60 to 110. We can choose to keep that range or adjust it further. I'm going to keep it. And then finally, we can tell it, oh, let's extend the time to 1 minute. Let's, up the ante and increase the points in this particular round to double. And finally, the answer margin right now is set to medium. Let's accept the maximum amount. So this means that everybody will get points, but just the ones that are closest to the answer will get the most. So that's just a quick, fun way that you can format something like a slider. Double points, I will say it's kind of my best practice, my golden best practice recommendation. In a standard Kahoot round, there are 1,000 points up for grabs. Depending on speed and accuracy, the points are then designated. When you click double points, it, of course, doubles the amount of points available. Also, it's just a surefire way to keep your session engaging, exciting. Often, if you just leave single points or standard points on throughout your entire session, it can make it really easy for a particular portion of your group to pull ahead and keep that lead. So if you want to kind of keep the balance and the stakes kind of leveled, sprinkle in and pepper in some double point questions. I always say you at least have one in your session. If you have none, then we have problems. Just kidding though, but it is something that I often advise and I advise. So keep that in mind. Take away the double points. So now that our Kahoot, our hypothetical all hands Kahoot is finalized, all we have to do is name it. We'll name it Test Kahoot here, and we're ready to move ahead with it and play it. So we're going to go ahead and click save. Now this Test Kahoot that we just formatted together is ready to go. We can either choose to start it live or assign it asynchronously. If we assign it live, we can set a deadline for when it gets assigned. We can toggle on our question timer to keep things engaging and exciting. Player identifier, another key feature if you're looking to track the outcome of a session. This pairs up the nickname of the individual to an email or a selected field like an employee number if you would like to select the other option. And you can then on the reporting backend correlate whose performance belongs to who, essentially. So I'll show you what a report looks like, because Kahoot does also function as kind of like a data analytics system where you're able to see the essentially the outcome of your session. So here I have some Kahoots that I've generated. We're going to go ahead and select. Let's see which one has some data here. Love bug. We'll select this one, the Love Bug Kahoot. It has about 5 folks that are interjected into it, but as you can see here, it gives you insights into individuals who did not finish, which is a great accountability piece. Individuals who need help, which is anybody who answered less than 35% correctly in a game. You can also see difficult questions that pose difficulty for the entire group. You can then drill down by players, see their specific answers and their specific outcomes. You can do a comparative analysis between your top ranking participant versus the bottom ranking one. You can also drill down by question type and see the outcome to things like a quiz, maybe identify some commonly misanswered topics, and then provide some follow-up around that if needed. You can revisit, if you had polls inside of your Kahoot, you can revisit the poll and see the outcome of that. This was a drop-in question, so it is a collect opinion type question. So it will show us, who answered what and the outcome to that. Then finally, if you have need for it and you need to extrapolate further data, you can also download that report and then, of course, interlace it with your business intelligence tools to identify key insights. But yeah, that in a nutshell encompasses the process all the way from creating the Kahoot to launching the Kahoot to analyzing the Kahoot. I will then digress back over to our Kahoot session here and wrap us up. There is going to be a section for questions, but I can see the chat popping up here, 52 notices. I haven't opened it because I was very much deep into my instruction there. But for those of you that were in the Kahoot session, please feel free to wake up your devices. I'll give you a couple of seconds, and then we'll move right along into the kind of rapid fire ending questions that we have here for you. So moving right along in 3, 2, 1. Quiz question. This is a multi-select option, so select all that applies to get the most points. Self-paced Kahoots would be a great tool for which of the following options? So answers are coming in. I will also say, as a host of a live game, the timer does not dictate the pace. You do have a timer preset, but if you find yourself up against the wall or you're looking to kind of keep pace, as a host, you can always skip the timer prematurely and move along to the next kind of question or slide. You can also skip slides if you don't feel they're relevant to once again keep on pace. And as a live host, you can always also change the settings of your Kahoot inside of the panel at all times. This is the option that I popped open. Also, best practice, always make sure show questions and answers is toggled on. For me, it's a preference, but honestly, I feel like it's how you provide the maximum participant experience to your audience. So the correct answer for this was everything on the board. Kahoot, self-paced Kahoot specifically, can be used for any and all the uses here pictured. So keep that in mind. We've used it even internally on voting for a specific lunch spot. So quite a popular way to use a self-paced Kahoot. So now you see here our leaderboard was shooken up, and Jen, Andrea, Patty, and Nancy were all coming up on the board with Avatar holding strong in first place. Now a slider question for double points. How many question types plus slide layouts plus Kahoot templates does Kahoot offer? We covered all of these sparingly throughout our live demo section. Please feel free to guess if you don't know. You are not penalized for guessing incorrectly, so might as well take a shot in the dark if you don't know. While everybody's answering, I will go ahead and go through some of the more recent questions here. But Zainab, you are on top of it, so I'll let you keep hammering away. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and skip the rest of the timer just for time's sake. 3, 2, 1. So now let's see. Popular answers were 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, but the correct answer here was 34. Did anybody get it right on the nose? One person did, but everybody, I did set the margin here to maximum, so everybody got partial credit. Just the closest you were to the correct answer, the more points you got. Let's see how that shook us up. Avatar still holding strong, but Patty, RJM climbing up a couple of ranks, and 26 of you hitting answer streaks of 3. Nice. So I'll pause here. It is 11:47. We have a couple of minutes to field some questions. Please feel free to raise a hand if you'd like to kind of chat in and ask a question. So I'll kick that over to you all. Any questions for us? And feel free to use the chat mechanism if you prefer, or yeah, you can ask to be allowed to talk, and we can unmute you and have you ask the question to the forum, to the people. Alrighty. Doesn't seem like anything's coming in. A little quiet here. I'll give it a couple more seconds and then we can move on. But Andrea asks, can we get a copy of the Q&A in the chat box for reference? Andrea, we do format our follow-ups with the recording, but I'm sure we can talk to our marketing partners and see if that's a possibility to get the chat and the Q&A linked in the follow-up as well. I'll confirm. I'm not sure if we can, but we'll definitely ask. And Jennifer asks, how do you use this within Zoom? Good question, Jennifer. So the way that I'm sharing this now is just a simple, straightforward screen share. I've launched the Kahoot as a live game, and then I went ahead and selected share my screen on Zoom, and that is what you're seeing pictured here.
There's also a Zoom integration if you wanted to use it. I can go ahead and put a link to that in chat.
Yes.
And you can have Zoom pop up or Kahoot pop up as an app inside of Zoom. So you don't have to share your screen or use the browser or log into a separate platform. You just log into Zoom, you click on the Kahoot app, and you look up the game you want to launch.
Very true, Zainab. It definitely cuts down on the need for multiple devices when you have the Zoom integration. Agreed. Michael asked, you mentioned speaker notes are not imported with PowerPoint slides. Is that something that is in the works to be integrated in the future? Good question, Michael. Zainab here is our resident voice of customer lead, but I will say this is a point of feedback that comes up often, and I know that it's on our product team's radar. I don't know if you want to maybe sprinkle in some additional knowledge if you have it, Zainab, on that particular topic, but
it's definitely pretty highly requested. It's been discussed a few times. I don't see it on the roadmap yet, but I can also upvote it again and find out if things have changed on that. But thank you for bringing that up. We always love hearing feedback. That's pretty common because that's how we build stuff.
Agreed. And a lot of the features that you see today all were essentially derived and pushed forth by feedback requests from clients like yourselves. So keep using the platform and keep telling us what we can improve upon it. We use WebEx. Is there a WebEx integration? There is not a WebEx integration to my knowledge. I think only Microsoft Teams and Zoom and Google Meet is currently what we have housed, but you can use the screen sharing function like you would on Zoom with WebEx. Lynn asks,
I will say I have heard that Cisco or WebEx integration is being considered. So you might see that in the near future.
There we go. Good thing we have you, our birdie on the wire, Zainab. Okay, so Lynn asks, when using Kahoot, it seems good when all are on a computer. However, is it difficult in a live context? Lynn, I would say that the only kind of difficulties that might pose tend to come from like internet browser connectivity. That typically tends to be more like a user error type of experience. But I will say Kahoot is optimized to operate at large capacities. Our largest live session can go all the way up to 2,000 participants at once. So we do have the platform optimized to house, live environments and large audiences simultaneously interacting with the content. So whether you're accessing it from a computer, from the app, or from the mobile browser, the experience is virtually the same across all. It just depends, I guess, on user preference and what the user finds most intuitive. Kate asks, I have purchased Kahoot 360 Pro for Teams. Is it possible to get a live person to answer some of my questions? Zainab, I'm maybe linking the CSM inbox. I'm sure you've been doing it already. That could be a great.
I just sent Kate my email address and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have in person.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you want to pick out a couple of the questions here and before we move on, Z?
I believe someone else, I think it was Kate, also asked about the Teams integration. So that's available. You can launch Kahoot inside of MS Teams as well as have Kahoot challenges pop up inside your Teams integration. Also, Catherine asked about the in-app experience of Kahoot. So you have very much the same experience in a live game in the browser as you will have within the app from a player perspective. As a creator, the app will allow you to be able to create and host on the go. So you're not in front of a computer, you don't need a desktop, you can do it all from your tablet or your cell phone. But from a game perspective, it's very similar to being on the browser.
Agreed. I will also say we did have a fair amount of you that answered that you did not have Kahoot accounts or that you were brand new to the Kahoot brand. The Kahoot platform is a SaaS platform, but we are all browser based. We don't require you to download any software. We're all, hosted on the browser, on the internet. So that also most of the time tends to make things really, really easy and user friendly for our end users such as yourselves. Alrighty. So I'll go ahead and move along just because we do have a couple more questions left and I want you to get to experience them all. But I'll continue leaving Zainab, our fingers on fire, answering your questions in the chat. So moving right along into kind of, let's consider this an exit poll type of experience. How well do you feel you know Kahoot now? Have you learned more? Do you feel like you're still kind of in the same spot where you started? What do you feel? I would love to know. Okay, the answers are now trickling in a little bit slower, so I'll give a couple more seconds and then I'll move right along. In the next 3, 2, 1. All right. Review. So the majority, 52% of you say you know it slightly better. 39% of you say you know it a lot better, and 3% of you say the same as before the webinar. We always aim to get you to a lot better. We're definitely happy to see slightly better, but if it's the same as before the webinar, I highly encourage you to join our Kahoot deep dive for specific spotlight insights and in use case specific kind of stories and best practices. That might be kind of the next step, given that you seem to be acquainted with the foundation of what Kahoot is in and Kahoot 101. But yeah, just some recommendations. Now, an open-ended question type asking you to please write one takeaway from today's session, whether that's a lingering question you have, something you're excited for, something you like, something you dislike. I would just love to hear from your end now. Also, it's a way for us to showcase open-ended question type. It is a free-form response type of question falling under the collect opinion family group. And you can type up to 250 characters, so definitely longer format. You can also highlight a keyword inside of your blurb to give it a bit more emphasis. And you'll see in a second, once we reveal everybody's submissions, that it could be a great way to drive discussion within your Kahoots. In this case, we're just going to use it to review your takeaways, but you could also pose a prompt and then have folks submit, open-ended answers. Just to continue giving some ideas on how these question types can apply in the real day-to-day life of a business user. 4 more seconds, cross your T's, dot your I's. Okay, let's go ahead and show the answers. Hello. There we go. So some call outs here. I'll make a couple. Anxious to try out and see what I can use it for. I learned a lot from the presentation. I need to meet with somebody from your team. Happy to hear. Zainab, do you want to maybe read 1 or 2 that stick out to you? Alrighty, we'll go ahead and shout out here. Maybe this one came in late. Images, library, templates available. I know something more about Kahoot. Glad to hear it, guys. We'll definitely be reviewing all of these moving forward, and then we're definitely going to be using some of it to integrate, maybe implement into our future sessions to make it just a little bit more robust for anybody that might want to come back and getting you.
And I was reading on mute. That is classic Zoom behavior. But I was wanting to read out the one that says program is much bigger than I thought, because I think that's a true reaction for a lot of people. Kahoot does so much more than what people initially expected to.
I agree. I definitely agree. Okay. Now, just to kind of shout out to Kahoot Deep Dive, we name dropped it a couple of times. Next upcoming one is going to happen on April 12th. It happens on the second Wednesday of every month. And the next upcoming one is based around how to build a product knowledge training and boost product knowledge through training inside of Kahoot. So if you're interested in that, feel free to register. The link is open. Finally, now with about 2 minutes left, based on what you've seen so far in the format of a brainstorm question, how can you see yourself or your team using Kahoot? So I'll give everybody a short amount of time to submit your ideas. Brainstorm can go anywhere from 1 to 5 ideas, depending on what you designate as the kind of creator of the Kahoot. And once the ideas are submitted, there's going to be kind of this interactive bulletin board that can allow you to group ideas together. And then once the voting round starts, then those ideas can be voted on as a group or as an individual idea. And people then get corresponding points depending on the votes. But answers are coming in fast. Let's go ahead and give a couple more seconds. And then we'll start the next phase of this brainstorm question. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and skip the rest of the timer now. Okay, so now it's sorting our ideas. It is trying to find similar keywords to then color code them accordingly. So as you can see here, there's a couple of ideas that y'all submitted. So we do have procedure training, pre-hire onboarding and project planning, team energizers, polling using polls. For example, these two are very similar. I can group them together and make one large sticky note. Team building, building vision, quizzes, in-person trainings for various customers, training, so on and so forth. We could stay here for a couple of minutes, have some discussion, group things together as a group, but I'm going to go ahead and just move forward with the voting round. On your devices now, you'll be able to give a star to an idea you want to vote for. You can also skip the idea and withhold a vote if you don't want to vote for that idea, and you can vote at least once for every idea. So I'll give everybody a chance to give the voting mechanism some kind of a try, and then we'll essentially be wrapped up and ready to crown our Kahoot king or queen or royalty. Alrighty, votes are coming in fast. I'm going to go ahead and stop the voting round and reveal what has come up from voting. Definitely a lot of votes interlaced, but we do have some top contenders. In the bronze bracket, brainstorming for Boki. And a tie for gold, employee engagement from Andrea. And Ronnie says team building activities, onboarding, and training. Kind of a catch-all. Love to see it. So now all we have to do is wish you well and happy Kahooting. And finally, to end off our session, our notorious Kahoot podium where we'll crown our winners. Avatar in third, Wendy came in second, and the winner of our Kahoot session today, Kahoot 101, RJM. Congratulations. Runners up here, Ed and Andrea. Not too shabby, guys. Thank you so much for taking this hour to kind of sit with us and discuss the Kahoot basics. Congratulations to all of our winners. And we hope that we were able to give you just a deeper insight into what Kahoot can do for you as either a paid license or as a potential platform. Thank you so much for joining us. And Kahoot 101 tends to stay pretty static. It might change a little bit, but if you've come to one Kahoot 101, you're more than welcome to continue joining. But if you definitely want to explore more specifics, please feel free to join our Kahoot deep dive. But thank you all for joining, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Cody. I appreciate it. I'm glad that it was helpful. Have a good one, everybody. Signing off in 3, 2, 1.